Going live now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame, how feminism conned Gen Z men into college debt and what to do instead, where we're going to be looking at an article that's been making the rounds on compactmag.com. And I think I'll let Allison go from there. So go ahead, Allison.
So for a very long time, I've gotten crap for saying the following to young men. Do not go into higher education unless someone is paying you to take that education. And it's interesting to be vindicated at the end of this, because now we're seeing the actual numbers. So what's happening is that if you go into higher education and you incur $25,000, $30,000 of debt, or even the couple $100,000 that you require to get like a PhD or a master's, you aren't seeing the employment opportunities that used to come from putting that amount of work into your education. And this is unique to millennial and Generation Z men. They are seeing unemployment rates equal to those men who haven't gone into higher education. And yet those men who haven't gone into higher education are getting jobs without the huge debt load. So it's starting to shape up that this is a con, that Generation Z and millennial men have been conned by higher education. They've been pushed into it by, the K through 12. Everybody's like, what are you going to do when you graduate? What are you going to take a major in when you go to higher education? But nobody told you that you're going to incur all of this debt. You're going to put your life on hold to go into these institutions. And at the end of the day, you are going to be discriminated against as a degree holding man. You are going to be discriminated against. The unemployment of women who hold degrees is still higher than women who don't. It is men who hold degrees who are actively being discriminated against. So they basically took your money, left you with a bunch of debt, and at the end of the day, you have no job to show for it. So that's where we're sitting at. And it's because of all of the DEI initiatives, all of the Me Too pressures, all of the stuff that feminists pushed into academia, media, Hollywood, all of the various artistic industries like animation. Yeah, if you've been feeling like you're going up against a brick wall while dragging a chain of debt, like a ball and chain of debt, you're not wrong. 100%, you were set up for failure. And as always, my prognostication, is it prognostication? My prescription is get angry and then get practical, because we're going to talk about how you deal with the reality as it is. Not the reality they're trying to sell you, but reality as it is. As we have spoken on this channel lots of times, there is a huge chasm between what teachers will say, what academics will say, what the media will say, and what reality actually is for millennial men, Gen Z men, and, to a lesser extent, older men, because we're still dealing with discrimination in family courts and in law and all of that other stuff. So today we're going into the con that feminism has perpetrated against younger men in higher education. All right. If you want to send us a message at any time throughout the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Send some questions, because I think this one will invite a lot of questions. And I know our viewership tends to skew more like millennial and Generation X. If you have young men that and are in position to give any advice to, listen and absorb what we say, because they need to know this. They need to know the pitfalls and the problems in navigating getting a job in this day and age. And at the end, or no, I shouldn't have used the N word, towards the denouement, I will be presenting a flow chart for young men who are getting into higher education, and whether or not you shouldn't, but if you insist upon it, there are some options that you can take to minimize the risk to yourself. All right. Do you want to just get started then?
Yes. And before we do, though, There does seem to be an issue that I want to raise. The vertical stream is not starting. I've
Mm,
tried the whole time. It's okay though. I'm recording it, so I can
okay.
just send you the file and you can turn it into shorts after. In the
Yeah.
meantime, I may try to start another vertical stream while we're talking.
Yeah.
Just like if I can get it to start up. But yeah, I'm aware that it's not running. I think that there was an update in OBS and the software, the specific plugin that allows me to stream vertically, and I think that happened earlier today, and that might have been the that might be an issue. So we'll see if I can figure it out though.
Yep.
In the
All right.
meantime, so no, I did not. I did notice that. I am on top of it. But okay, so we're not going to read through the article because it's really long, but we do have some of the like the general thesis of the article, and I guess some specific points that are made.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any, or should I?
Oh,
So
well, honestly, the overall thesis of the article is it's just an elaboration of everything that we've talked about and
yeah,
noticed
yeah.
in one place. It covers all the personal experience of a lot of men in a variety of industries, from Hollywood to media to academia, and to a lesser extent in the higher end of research and development in the business world. So it's the gamut of potential career opportunities, the kind of career opportunities that used to be you would want to aim for because they were fulfilling, and a lot of personal anecdotes about how having been frozen out of getting jobs in these variety of career settings. So it's creativity, media, and research and development, and it's a lot. It's substantial, and it's backed up with a lot of statistics on how much the rate of employment for men, and in particular white men, in these fields, how much it has gone down over the years. And I think that's particularly enlightening. It's pretty much embedded very deeply. I would just start, because I think that at least the first few paragraphs are a good way to set what's going on. So just
Okay.
just begin it. Yeah, just start.
All right. So this is The Lost Generation by Jacob Savage on Compact.com. For 15 years, I've scalped tickets to pay the bills. But in January 2016, I almost managed a real career. I was 31. I've been in Los Angeles for 5 years writing scripts. There had been minor successes, a couple of small projects optioned, and I'd recently started writing with my best friend. We were writing constantly, making each other better, building momentum. Success felt close. Back then, it always did. Looks like they're just like telling us about
Yeah,
a
you're just grounding it in an actual
yeah.
anecdote, which is useful, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So we'd written a pilot script that a veteran showrunner had agreed in a very theoretical, very Hollywood sort of way to come on to. That project had fizzled, so we were surprised when an executive emailed us out of the blue to meet. The showrunner explained he'd submitted us for an upcoming writer's room he was going to run. The exec had loved our pilot and wanted to hire us. This was it, our moment, the moment our careers were supposed to take off. We'd put in our time. I'd been tutoring SATs and reselling tickets to make ends meet while I wrote, and 5 years seemed par for the course based on the slightly older guys we knew who had made it. But of course,
Mhm.
by 2016, we were already too late.
Mhm.
The showrunner emailed us back apologetically. I had initially thought I might be able to bring you guys on, he wrote, but in the end, it wasn't possible.
It's interesting how all of these, like, the time really starts coinciding. You notice that? Like, it 2016.
2016, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was 2014 where this stuff, you get further into the article where they describe how this stuff really started to ramp up. And I just find it fascinating how that coincides with Gamergate. Guys were
Mhm.
Gamergate guys were tracking some real seismic shifts in the culture. Unfortunately, they just went ahead and did whatever the hell they were going to do. So, continue.
All right. The showrunner emailed us I'm sorry. We met with the executive anyway, a Gen X white guy who told us how much he loved our pilot. But the writer's room was small, he explained apologetically, and the higher level writers were all white men. They couldn't have an all white male room. Maybe if the show got another season, they'd be able to bring us on. They never did. The doors seemed to close everywhere and all at once. In 2011, the year I moved to Los Angeles, white men were 48% of lower level TV writers. By 2024, they only accounted for about 11.9%. The Atlantic's editorial staff went from 53% male and 89% white in 2013 to 36% male and 66% white in 2024. The white men fell from 39% of tenure track positions in the humanities at Harvard in 2014 to 18% in 2023. In retrospect, 2014 was the hinge, the year
Mhm.
DEI became institutionalized
Yep.
across American life.
Yeah, it's almost like it was, and again, the Gamergate people, they picked up on it. They saw they, I don't know, that was when the waters were receding, and they picked up on that as the tsunami came in, you know. And it's just really interesting to me how all of these times are lining up, and I'm wondering if there's something going on in the background that's pushing this, something that coincided on 2014. Maybe it was like maybe that was the apocalypse that was promised in 2012, you know?
It was
The
just delayed a little bit.
it was just
A late apocalypse.
it was a late apocalypse. Yeah, it was just building up steam, and we didn't
I, I
even
think
know
I think this is
the
actually no, I think this is
form.
actually older than 2014. I just
Yeah,
think that
probably.
the internet allowed it to accelerate. That's what I think that this because this is I don't know if they're going to say it in this article. I have some of the uh, central arguments, but I feel like that this is obviously a product of feminism. Like that's what this is a product of.
Yeah.
It's in and I think that in 2016 we got the first hints of the Me Too movement. It
Mhm.
wasn't called that yet, but this was like building, you know. So
Mhm.
it was Gamergate, but it was also Me Too and like a lot of the let's say the online social media feminist activism. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what blew up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, do the next paragraph.
all right. In industry after industry, gatekeepers promised extra consideration to anyone who wasn't a white man, and then provided just that. With every announcement of promotions, there was a desire to put extra emphasis on gender or race, a former management consultant recalled. And when you don't fall into these groups, that message gets louder and louder and gains more and more emphasis. On the one hand, you want to celebrate people who have been at a disadvantage. On the other hand, you look and you say, wow, the world is not rooting for you. In fact, it's deliberately rooting against you. Yes. And it is like legitimately institutional, systemic discrimination against men in particular, but also white men, but not just white men. I mean, like they say it as white men, but at the end of the day, it's going to be just men. And a lot of the people who push this stuff were actually women of color. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Well,
um,
but the thing is, what's interesting about DEI is it's disproportionately benefiting white women more than anyone, interestingly enough. Do you know that? As if based on the statistics.
I mean, maybe, but it doesn't matter. Like women of color started it, they push it, they still stand by it, or brown women and black women. Even if it just so happens that white women benefit, I don't think that it's like their intention, and they don't care because as long as men are getting screwed, it doesn't matter. Like the sisterhood trumps all at the end of the day. So like I wouldn't be taking any joy in learning that white women secretly got black women to turn on their own men. I don't think that's what happened, but it wouldn't bring me any more joy to learn that. I think that
Yeah.
it's at the end of the day the women, and not just because the thing is, for me anyway, I get a little annoyed when you see like say you're arguing with SJWs. I see this all the time. And like or Antifa. When Antifa was like, you know, doing all kinds of property damage and rioting and everything. And then what a lot of the so-called anti-woke people would say is they would essentially point to Antifa and say, look at how white and male they are, as
Mm-hmm.
though the fact that they see some photos of Antifa members and they happen to be white and male somehow strengthens the argument against Antifa for being like violent anarchists or whatever that are just trying to burn everything down. And they think it's funnier because they're fitting into this identity mold that we're supposed to see as, you know, the like far right oppressive mold. And I get the irony a little bit, but it annoys me because I know there's a lot of people in minority groups that are also a part of this. And for some reason, they get a pass. And I think it's because, while, you know, there are people who are fine with being called sexist and yet not fine with potentially being called racist, even though the same mentality is coming from this. And the only way we're going to beat it, and I mean the only way we're going to beat that, is to ignore all of those narratives of essentially you're an istophobe. Like the istophobia thing has to die. Like it has to die forever. And the only way is for us to look at and say, look, this is being caused by this group of people. And I don't care like what their skin color is or whatever. I'm looking at it as objective as possible. So in the
Yeah.
1970s, you had like the feminist movement, but there was also the womanist movement, which was like the black feminist movement, and it was doing its own damage. And you know, if somebody were to say, well, you know, I don't know, like there's a way of like passing the buck to like white women or white people that I take some issue with it, because I think that they should be like, black and brown women are also adults and they also do dumb shit and they
Yeah,
also
no, I
hate their
agree.
men online.
I
So
think the
like,
problem is
I've been
in my
going on X, and I've made this thing that I do now where I just scroll on X, and if I see an anti-male post, and there's a lot of them, there's a lot of angry feminist women on X, they'll just say some demeaning shit about men, and I'll go on their profile and check their location, and they're all in India, Africa, East Asia. Like that's, or like South Asia, India, Africa, and the Middle East. And I'll just
mm,
screenshot it and share it and just reply like that. And they're speaking in like, you know, they're not speaking like they're foreign. Their profile pictures and their way of speaking sounds American. So you think, oh, they're just American women dogging on the men to get other women on board. But a lot of them are not American and they're not white. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say about that.
yeah, I mean, the issue that I have is I think, again, like I'm always going to come from this from the perspective that the corruption starts between men and women,
Yeah, for sure.
and the people who were initially pushing it, wherever it ended up, were definitely a bunch of white liberal feminists, often radical feminist separatists in the 60s and 70s. And certainly the Declaration of Sentiments was also white liberal women. So I mean, I'm going to call them out. Possibly what's happening here is I'm calling out the group of people I most resemble, and maybe Brian is calling out. You know, I don't mean that in like like a identitarian way, but there's a
Yeah.
resistance towards not wanting to be held accountable, or
Yeah.
sort of
I mean, look,
wanting.
I don't want to get swept up in the racial component. I don't think it's important.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that goes both ways though. Like, so to
Like
say in yeah, go ahead.
when I was watching that Democratic senator, and I know some people are saying she's Jewish, but I don't think that really matters because she's modeling something. She is debasing herself as a quote unquote white person, but she's doing it because it justifies debasing boys as men and products of the patriarchy. So she can say, well, I am taking my burden of guilt, therefore that justifies me pushing a burden of guilt on the boys that I teach and have responsibility for. So it's a delivery mechanism for that shaming of men. But we are sort of, we need to get
Yeah,
back on
far
track.
afield. I
Far
know, I
afield.
know. I'm just saying that. I mean, I could say something about Jewish feminists that'll get us probably banned. So I'm not going to. I'll just leave it there.
I
Let's
think,
move on.
can I say something? I think they secularized the Jewish male guilt trip. or guilt complex. And I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, when I say Jewish, I don't mean the religion.
Yeah.
It's like there's like the ethnic group, and then there's the it's not as simple as other religions. Like Muslims are not a race, despite the fact that Ben Affleck thinks they are. Christians are not a race either, despite the fact Hollywood wants us to think they are. But Jews are different. They have a different thing that like it's kind of an ethnic group. They're genetically distinct, but also it's a religion. But a lot of them are secular, so it's not really a religion. It's very confusing, and
Yep.
I think that's by design. But anyway, so let's see the next. You want me to read more of the article?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So we get into this 2016 thing. Everything is a mess for men. And that's where it started. And I think it's older than
you're
that.
missing that paragraph that you just. I think we stopped in the center. Finish it off because it's got an interesting thought.
Yeah. On the one hand, you want to celebrate people who have been at a disadvantage. On the other hand, you look and you say, "Wow, the world is not rooting for you. In fact, it's deliberately rooting against you." Yes.
Yes.
And there's a bait and switch there too, because like whites, so we have to talk about this since they are making it about race to some degree. Whites are a minority in the world, like globally, a global minority, and men who are white are a subset of that global minority. And yet, the narrative that's presented to them that essentially puts them in a position of carrying that guilt is the idea that they dominate everything. And maybe from their perspective, it looks that way because you live in a Western country and you see people that look like you. So you're more likely to believe that narrative, but it's just not true. So anyway.
Also, they may dominate everything. Even if they do dominate everything, is it unearned? Well, like I'm gonna say this. Like when you say celebrate people who have been at a disadvantage, this is nonsense, especially when it comes to women. I have looked through the history of human endeavor, shall we say, and it follows a specific pattern, right? Men start something, they build it up until there is a risk benefit ratio that slants more towards benefit. So they take all the risks, make all the sacrifices to build this thing up, and then they onboard women as soon as it is feasibly possible, right? As soon as it's logistically possible, and as soon as women do not have to bear the risks of engaging in something that is new and different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look back through history, a lot of the stuff that we consider to be just features of modern life, like policing, like national borders, like trade networks. These are things that men had to establish at considerable sacrifice for themselves to basically tame land, to get rid of the marauders, to make a safe space, to have a community, to have a nation. Men did that. And these were all startups. Throughout history, it was all startups that men engaged in and cooperated to create. And then women are onboarded when it's logistically feasible. And that's the history of the human race. It's very simple. It's very low key. It's very pragmatic. Why would you do that? Because you can afford to lose 10% of your men. Losing 10% of your fertile women's a little bit more chancy. So that's why, and also men have a more interest in risk taking. They're more able to tolerate risk. They're more able to tolerate conditions, harsh conditions. They are more likely to survive violent interactions with people who are not interested in seeing trade routes or national boundaries or being policed in terms of their behaviors. So there's reasons why men did it, and then women would be onboarded when feasible. That is the history of the human race. There is no oppression. There is no oppression of men by women. Or sorry, there's no oppression of women by men. Sorry, reverse that. Reverse that. There's none. And the fact that women were excluded from things prior to men making them safe for women to join is not oppression. So there was no exclusion of women from these things. And again, yes, sometimes there was bureaucracy in the way of bringing women in, but that wasn't like an active inclusion. That's just cultural inertia. But as soon as that was resolved, they were brought in. Every single time. Living in a nation state, enjoying the protection of police, enjoying trade routes, enjoying currency, enjoying credit, enjoying bathrooms in public places, right? All of this stuff started by men. Women are onboarded as soon as it made sense. That is the history of the human race. The fact is that there is no comparison to freezing men out. If you want to look at men and women in these gestalt entities, let's do it. Freezing men out of the things they created and they made available to women. There is no comparison between freezing men out of the things that they created and then subsequently made available to women than women freezing men out of the things that they created. One is just a process. The other is active injustice. And men need to get pissed because this is utterly unfair. And there is no comparison. There's no celebration here. There's absolutely no celebration here because there was no oppression to begin with. It is actually a horrible thing that is being done. Men build something, women come in, and then the men go out because the women say, oh, you don't belong here anymore. That's the injustice. The original men building things and making them safe for women to come in, that's not an injustice. That's just pragmatism. All right. I wanted to rant at that freaking thing. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the Trump administration takes a chainsaw to the diversity, equity, and inclusion apparatus, there's a tendency to portray DEI as a series of well-meaning but ineffectual HR models. Undoubtedly, there has been ham-fisted DEI programming that is intrusive or even alienating, explained Kianga Yamada Taylor in The New Yorker. But for the most part, it is a relatively benign practice meant to increase diversity while also sending a message that workplaces should be fair and open to everyone. Well,
Nonsense.
I guess case closed then. We can all go home. It meant well, and that's all that matters.
Well, okay, but here's the proof in the pudding.
Kianga Yamada Taylor is a just so you guys know, she's an academic of African American studies and an intersectional feminist. That's what the was going to say the womanists of the 60s and 70s brought. They brought intersectionality. But anyway,
it's just more excuses to shit on men. But
yeah,
okay. The proof is in the pudding, right? If they were excluded unfairly in a system that was supposed to be about merit and functionally was really about sexism, right? Why is it that these institutions are all universally failing? Like, really, you did this, you're all DEI, we're going to bring in all of this merit that's been excluded. And what is happening? Burning, failing, crashing, disintegrating. What? The replicability, the replicatability. I know that's the wrong way to pronounce it, but let's go with that. Crisis in academia, right? When did that really heat up? Okay. The media is no longer able to support itself financially. Hollywood is a burning trash fire of absolute slewish drivel. All right. At the animation industry, which was also taken over in this way, it's crap. Like
all of our cultural outlets, like all of the arts, are absolutely cooked. Books, animation, comics, film, television, music, plays, like it's all done. It's all done. And did I say movies? I didn't say movies. Movies. Too.
Yeah.
Journalism.
Yeah, journalism's cooked. It's absolute crap. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I almost think that we should read through this whole article because it elaborates everything that we've talked about. And again, what is the proof in the pudding? Are these industries been improved by these DEI efforts? No. They are, in fact, dying. Every institution that adopted this is worse off. The truth is that these institutions turn their talent away at the door. Yeah, men and white men, you're the talent, and you always were.
Well, at the very least, it excludes, like, it's leaving out like a tremendous amount of potential. And in fact, I think that another thing that's part of this problem is bringing in people who are less talented but more diverse, or less able but more diverse, actually hurts the talented people that are already there too,
Yeah,
because they become a part of they bring down the quality, they dilute the level of skill, right? So if you do have, like, women that know how to do their jobs, that are
yeah,
good at writing or directing, but they're working with women who don't, and they're there because diversity, then even the competent women are going to become less effective.
okay, let
It's
me
like being in a
qualify.
team where you're Michael Jordan and everybody else is like the WNBA. You know,
I
so
don't know if that's telling. Okay, let me qualify. You're right. Because what really happened is that they took a meritocratic system. Yeah, it had its problems, it had its nepotism, it had its casting couch, which incidentally would help bolster women's careers over men's. But regardless, it had its problems, but it was meritocratic. And obviously so, since everything is a flaming ruin now. And they replaced it with something that basically is nepotistic and politically driven. So people have to tap dance out the woke um, dance in order to even be considered. And when you select for political adherence and sophistry, you get crap.
well, I mean, DEI is inherently nepotistic because you're basically showing up and getting like a position based on nothing to do with your ability, or at least not much. Just like, hey, do you have any disabled Asian lesbians in there? No, well, you're gonna have to hire me because you
Mm,
don't have one. And it's like it's worse than, I know the guy, like my dad is your boss kind of a thing. I mean,
mhm.
that's bad, but like, yeah, this is worse because you can get more people that are less talented. But anyway,
Yeah.
I got a Rumble rant and a Super Chow.
Oh, cool. Go
So
for it.
yeah, Rumble rant from NovaFan21, who gives $1 and says, "Feel free to correct me, but I heard in the 90s and in the 2000s there was a similar feminist discrimination in the tech world that made it unfair for men to hold a job in tech." There probably was. They probably called it something else. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had DEI forever, called it affirmative action.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's always been there. And
yeah,
even before then, it's had a less codified version, which is simply it's just a human instinct. Men
yeah.
men colonize something and they bring women on board. It's like continuous throughout our history. The men doing this, from settling the West to whatever Rome did in the first during its founding, the Sabine women and stuff. It's always men going out hunting the mastodon, making the it's safe, and then women come in and they enjoy the benefits. And we've just codified that with words like affirmative action and DEI. And then we've tried to politically justify it by including minority groups who have been in some ways disadvantaged. Right? But it ultimately, the instinct is to benefit women. And that is who this benefits most. Because when you get rid of men, white men, eventually you get rid of all of the men who are the white men of their category, like black men who are the white men of black people, and gay men who are the
Straight white
straight white men of
people of
gay
gay
people.
people. Yeah.
It's absurd, but you see, that's the logic. That's the logic they use. So once they get rid of all the white men, they're going to start winnowing it down further and further. Like right now, you can maybe leverage being Asian or being black as a man or being gay as a man into certain positions. They're going to get rid of that too. They're just going to continue to use this rhetoric to outright discriminate against the penis people.
Well, that yeah, and that's one of the reasons why they go after white men, because there's a lot of non-white men that'll be like, well, they're not coming after me,
It's going
or
towards
they'll
that.
even feel a sense of like satisfaction, like, oh yeah, we're gonna give it to Whitey, and then when Whitey's gone, they're just gonna go after the next group, and it's gonna be
Yep.
like, well, what's a shade, darker than the Whitey? We'll go after the Latinos. They're basically part white. Let's just go, and the Asians, they're white adjacent, right? And
Mhm.
it counts on people over, that are concerned about the racial component to ignore what's actually happening. And so
Yeah.
that's why, again, all of the isms have to die. Walt Disney made a cartoon about isms like a long time ago, and how it was used to divide people. And I think people should watch that cartoon. It came out. He was worried about communists. He wasn't an anti-Semite. He was anti-communist. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. It's
As
not
you
his
do.
fault that you guys confuse the two. But anyway,
As you
um,
do. Like
yeah. Just saying. All right.
I was like watching the new Fallout, and the female main character is like, "Oh, the communists did this." And I'm like, "Wow, I've never seen such an like making the communists the enemy."
Well,
It's
that's the Fallout
satisfying on a
lore. You
level.
can't mess with that.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese. I mean, granted, I think I don't know the Fallout lore that well. I played Fallout 3 and that was it. I was thinking about getting into Fallout 4, but um or New Vegas, but apparently like you're like a vault dweller. Maybe the vault dwellers are really like, they only know what the propaganda told them about the war. And
Mhm.
so she is playing that role, which could still subvert like the actual plot at some point later, because I guess they went to war with the Chinese.
Mm.
Um and that's how the nuclear thing happened, the
No,
nuclear holocaust.
it's sort of refreshing for the commies to occupy the space of ultimate
I'm
evil
with
instead of
that.
the
I
Nazis.
want to see
Like,
more commie villains.
yeah,
I'm kind of burned out on Nazis, guys. I mean, they're
yeah,
really well
really.
dressed. They know how to bring the outfit together, but I see them everywhere. It's a little and the word's been overused. Let's see, some communists, maybe some, I don't know, like some Huns, like something obscure, like you know, something we haven't seen before. Some, Philistines. How about the Philistines? Can we bring
Yeah.
those guys back? But anyway, all right, I got a
Okay.
super chow from Zeranx, who gives us $10 and says, regarding the focus on Jewish people, I asked some before my Twitter account was suspended. That's probably what got you suspended. If Charles Fourier was Jewish and presented my case. Fourier was against Jewish people and he preceded Karl Marx. His sentiments that women should compete with men and that marriage is a prison for women are exactly the foundation of what severely hurts society today. I don't care for the Jewish people are responsible. I don't care for the Jewish people are responsible, considering a very real path of operation women are following and have been since women were tricked by Rosie the Riveter. It's hard enough contending with women operating in such a way that they gave up areas they dominated to fail, even when they received the special treatment they demanded. Throwing in seemingly anti Semitic stuff is making a different set of demands many will love to give us defeat. Well, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, and I've said this myself too, let's just say for the sake of argument that the Jews did everything that people claim that they did. Let's say that they created porn, they created booze and drugs, and they blamed it all on white people, and they sowed propaganda, control the media, all of that. Let's say for the sake of argument, all of it is true. We still, as individuals, make choices what we support and believe and not. So like, even if all of that is true, if women go along with it or if men go along with it, then they are culpable for going along with it. So we still get to say no more, especially if you like learn like where it comes from or not. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It matters what the behavior is. Like these are the ideas, these are bad
How do you
ideas.
fix it?
We're going to
It
avoid
comes
these
down to
ideas.
that. How do
Huh?
you fix it? It comes down to how do you fix it?
Yeah.
And if
Right.
there was a corruption in the relationship between men and women, it doesn't matter who did it. It's who perpetuates it, who internalizes it, and who makes it part of their life. And that has to change. And the thing is that, like, I mean, Seneca Falls, the Declaration of Sentiments, did the Jews do that too? I
Like I
feel
said,
like
even if they did, what matters is that everyone who came
take
after, whether they were
responsibility.
Jew or Gentile, they followed suit and they went along with the narrative. So like, it doesn't matter where the root is. What matters is where do we stop it, right?
Mhm.
Like
Well, I
I
was,
had a guest on my show um a while back, and they were they were like game developers, and they were talking about like where they thought the problems came from, and they said, well, I don't like all the women blaming, and they were trying to get me to say it's the Jews, and I said, well, look, even if it's true, women are going along with it. So like, what are you going to do? It's like saying, well, Lyndon Johnson is the reason why we're in bad shape. Well, we can't go dig him up and like wag a finger at him because he created the welfare state, but we can tell the people who are currently trying to use the welfare state to stop using it or to find a
mhm.
better way. That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
So
it's a
anyway,
way of feeling like you're taking responsibility while taking none. Right?
yeah, and I think people like they
I mean,
want
who's
to have any kind of scapegoat, and I think it's just not productive. Like I think that and again,
ah!
I'm open to it being true, but I don't think it's productive to
And I'm
simply
perfectly
scapegoat and not like say, okay, now where do we go from here?
yeah, sure enough. But I'm quite happy to blame women.
No,
I
I'm
just
okay
want
with
to point
blaming
out
women for things that they do. Yes,
I just want to
for
point
their
out
parts to
that I want
play.
to ask men, who are the people who actually destroy your lives? Yeah. Is it really the Jews?
Yeah.
Let's is it a Jew that you had children with and they took your children away? Is it a Jew that got promoted over you in I don't know, academia or media or anything? Are they the
Yeah.
ones really? You know, is it a Jew who falsely
That's
accused you
yeah.
of
At some point,
of some
no,
kind of
I'm saying
harassment?
at some point you have to like, you know, the buck stops somewhere.
Yeah,
Is
the
all.
buck stops somewhere, and it's the place where nobody wants to go. What a surprise. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do a little bit more.
All right. All right. So anyway, but for the most part, yeah, but benign practice. This may be how Boomer and Gen X white men experience DEI, but for white male millennials, DEI wasn't a gentle rebalancing. It was a profound shift in how power and prestige were distributed.
Yep.
Yet practically none of the thousands of articles and think pieces about diversity have considered the issue by cohort.
Well, because that's where the rubber met the road. That's where the policies started to really be instituted. Okay, and ultimately, this article I think edges towards blaming Gen Z
Gen X
and
and boomers, yeah.
yeah, Gen X and
I
Boomer
know.
men.
But I think that with as a Gen Xer, I think that we were as much blinded by these sort of narratives of at least gynocentrism, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
definitely gynocentrism and romantic chivalry because it was everywhere. It was ubiquitous, and that comes with a in like a drive or like a push to prioritize women's safety and comfort
Yeah,
over men's. So
yeah. Well, here's the thing: the Boomer and Gen Z or Gen X men, they were part of building all of these things. Okay, and then it was built. The risks were taken. The tropes were erected. Like there was all everything was made safe. And then women were onboarded in the millennial and Gen Z generation. And that's basically what it was. Those men built all of this. And now it was time to bring on the women, and they did. And Gen Z and millennial men were squeezed out. And it's not. It's like, and it's not really those men that are responsible. It's not Boomer and Gen X men who are really responsible. It's the march of feminism through the institutions and the capture of feminism of the academic engine of understanding society through the relationship between men and women. That's what was picking at. That was the salt water corroding the foundation, right? Just slowly dripping in and destroying it and making it crumble. That's where it came from. Right. And again, like Brian was saying, I don't think Boomer, I mean, I'm probably Boomer men thought they were doing the right thing, and Gen X just, got along to get along. And, and so, yeah, they could have stopped it. But at that point, and during all of this, if they had tried to stop it, they would have been that guy during a time when they could have lost a lot. And what's interesting about this particular article is at some point, the millennial men and the Gen Z men they don't want to they don't want to tie their name to what they're saying because they don't want to be that guy. Well, it's exactly the same with previous generations of men, except previous generations of men had something to lose. Like they had a job to lose in the creative industries or in media or in academia. They had something to lose, and that job was probably supporting a family. You guys don't, and you're still playing the I don't want to be that guy game. Like, have some sympathy. If you're going to be someone who says, well, I don't want to put my face out there because I don't want to be that guy, and you don't even have a career in this industry that you're kowtowing to and you're sucking up to by towing the party line, have some sympathy for the generations of men before you who had to do this to keep a job they actually had. Like, and that people relied on them for having. Right. And I know that I'm being pointed here, but it really bugs me when men start to do this thing again where they start to blame other groups of men. It's not other groups of men. It is the women in feminist academia that constructed this entire corrosive narrative that ate at the foundations of all of these institutions. And then it just blew out. And that was, 2014 was when it all collapsed or started to collapse. Right. And it's like, and if you are going to be like, I don't want to be that guy, and you don't even have a career in these industries to save, then again, what do you think the boomer men and the Gen X men were dealing with? Right? It takes this very special person to be like, fuck it. I'm going to say whatever I want. And so if it lands me any particular where, then I'll just build from where I land. And most men don't have that courage. Most people don't have that courage. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out there. I know it's a little bit more condemning, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I think that the other thing too is that the boomer men, but they were around for the whole like civil rights thing, which included the feminist movement. It probably got co-opted by feminists, to be honest. And I think they had a lot of guilt, and I think that they were the hippies too, so they were trying to change everything. That they were convinced, because remember, like during the time of Gen X and the Boomers, there was no alternative forms of like alternative ways of getting information. You got all your information from the same place. You got it from the TV. You got it from the newspaper, and all of those outlets were already like more or less on the side of whatever the zeitgeist was. So you just sort of went along with it. That's why I say, like Gen Xers were definitely, swept up in the romantic chivalry thing, because it wasn't a time of war, well, the Cold War, but like, I didn't even know what that was about. I mean, because I was just distracted, and I think that one of the reasons why I believe the boomers and Gen Xers went along with it too was because they didn't think that it would become this. They thought that there would be gratitude, there would be gratitude and some utopian equality thing, like, oh, this is so great. And they didn't think that women were going to vindictively exclude men as a result, like to, in order to correct history, as it were. And I think that it caught a lot of guys of my generation off guard.
Basically, what women did is, those survival horror movies, and you have your cadre that's trying to fight against the zombies, and you see somebody on the side of the road, and then the cynical dude is like, don't stop, just keep going, forget it, fuck them. And then you pull over to let the woman in, and she shoves you out of the car and takes over the wheel. That's what feminists did. And it is about as justified and moral and righteous as that. Men pulled over to let them on, and they shoved men out. It is, and the fact that anybody thinks that this was something other than an incredible injustice, especially the way it was framed, get pissed. And just one other thing, like I will say that it is really unfortunate, the mess that Gen Z and the millennials have inherited. And this is a freaking mess. and it's unfortunate that the boomers and the Gen Z and the Gen X men didn't stop it. But again, pressure's on them, and they should have, but they didn't have the language to explain what women were doing and
And they
how
didn't know.
violating it is.
They assumed that women were like that it was gonna be something that would benefit them. It was like it was an act in the hopes that there was gonna be some like loving, return, like pay it forward type of thing. Like that's
Yeah.
I think it was naive, but I think that's what they thought.
And then the woman nation attacked.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do the next
All right.
paragraph.
All right. So that's how, yeah. So in Boomer and Gen X, this isn't a story about all white men. It's a story about white male millennials in professional America, about those who stayed and who mostly stayed quiet. The same identity, a decade apart, meant entirely different professional fates. If you were 40 in 2014, born in 1974, beginning your career in the late 90s, you were already established. If you were 30 in 2014, you hit the wall because the mandate to diversify didn't fall on older white men who in many cases still wield enormous power. They landed on us. See, there's the bullshit
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Like you are ceding ground by saying that. This is the land acknowledgement thing that I keep seeing.
Yeah.
This is the land acknowledgement. Well, we white guys did have a lot of power. I heard Louis C.K. do a bit on it.
Yeah, okay. You built something and you had power over it. Wow, that's so unjust. Right?
Yeah.
And honestly, what really killed all this is the feminists went to war against male mentorship of other men and that kind of fraternal brotherhood around these institutions that built these institutions. Okay? And this doesn't help. Like, this is just more of the same that destroyed it. And nobody wants to say this, that men's ability to cooperate with an external goal is what builds these things. These are the startups that I keep talking about through all of human history. Men build these things together because they have this phenomenal ability to cooperate that even exceeds women's ability to cooperate by magnitudes. I'm sorry, guys, it's just true. Women don't cooperate very well.
No.
They can, I don't know, consolidate power over men and they can distribute stuff, but they don't cooperate very well. Men cooperate extremely well and they build stuff like this. And feminism went to war against male cooperation and called it some kind of toxic sludge that leaks into society from the toxic spill that's patriarchy. And they destroyed it. So now there is no more, it's not just that there's all these institutional prerogatives to bring in unrepresented minorities and women. It's also that they actively destroyed male mentorship. Called it old boys club. And what has happened as a result of this? I'm not going to shut up about this anymore. What has happened as a result of all of feminism's actions to destroy mentorship between men, brotherhood between men, old boys network, whatever else? What has happened to all of our institutions that have now been governed by feminist initiatives and feminist beliefs about the relationship between men and women and feminist beliefs about controlling men? What has happened to them? They have all gone to shit. The proof is in the pudding, and I am not freaking shutting up about it. Okay.
Yep. All right. So this is a really long article. I do have some I don't know if you want me just keep reading the whole thing, or I have 5
let's just
central arguments that were made in this, because there's also still the flow chart to look at and the advice that you were going to give.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that then. Let's go through the flow. Let's go through the 5 central arguments.
Okay. So we covered, one of the ones I had was that in 2014, that marked a pivotal institutionalization of DEI policies that systemically reduced opportunities for white male millennials, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the other part, another argument is DEI-driven hiring in media explicitly prioritize non-white male candidates, often openly excluding white men. Verbatim quote from this article, verbatim. Um, it was given that we weren't going to hire the best person. It was jarring how we would talk about excluding white guys, attributed to a senior hiring editor at a major outlet. And there's some examples. 2021 hires at Condé Nast was only 25% male and only 49% white. So they're 25% male, which means they were hiring not just non-white people, but they were also hiring women.
Mm-hmm.
California Times, 39% male, 31% white. Digiday Publisher Statistics, ProPublica, 66% women, 58% people of color in 2021 hires. NPR, wow, 78% new hires, people of color and women. It's not broken down by gender, but I'm guessing it's probably mostly women. The
Mm-hmm.
Atlantic post 2020 hires nearly 2/3 women, nearly 50% people of color, nearly 2/3 women. This is everywhere. When we talked about the animation industry too, there are specific unions that are formed with the explicit purpose of altering the hiring practices of companies. So there was like this group, I can look it up again. It was called Women in Animation. I brought on Luke a while back to talk about it. And they had a goal. It was like 50-50 by 2030 or something like that, where they were going to have 50% women in every position, like showrunners, animators, artists, whatever, by the year 2030. Maybe it was even sooner than that. And I think they've long surpassed that. Like, I think it's mostly women now there. And of course, because it's a union, it can like apply a lot of pressure to employers to actually do that. So
Mm-hmm.
that was another thing. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that. And I'll
Yeah.
look up women in animation.
Yeah, well, okay, well, I can look at the statistics here. I don't know. I think you just covered media and journalism, academia, which is what we're talking about. But this is across the board everywhere.
Yeah.
White men's tenure track positions in the humanities at Harvard fell from 39% in 2014 to 18% in 2023. And what I want you guys to notice is that across the board, the big changes are between how many men versus how many women. White men were 55% of Harvard's arts and sciences faculty, but only 27% of tenure track positions in 2024. UC Berkeley's white male hires dropped from 52.7% in 2015 to 21.5% in 2023. They're just getting rid of white men. They're not actually replacing them that much with men of other other ethnicities. UC
Mm-hmm.
Irvine and UC Santa Cruz had hired very few white men for tenure track positions, 4.7% and 3% respectively. Brown University hired only 3 white American men out of 45 tenure track professors since 2022. Right? So that's 6%. So it's like this is basically pushing men out of academia. Right? Just completely. And this is, I mean, we could probably segue into looking at that flow chart and talk about that. I would recommend reading the article. It is example after example after example after example of men being frozen out of these careers. And of course, as we all know, they're being frozen out. And for some reason, all of these industries and institutions and organizations are cratering. They're becoming
Mm-hmm.
far worse. And let's look at the flow chart, and we'll talk through the.
Well, I want to add something else too, which is
Oh, sure, go
the
ahead.
effects of this. And I have another bit from the article. So the broader exclusion. So what this is leading to is essentially a tremendous imbalance in not just like the job opportunities because they're prioritizing women and people of color, but like women largely over men, and they're doing it in education as well. What this is doing is it's creating it's leading to personal stagnation and delayed life milestones for men, and without them pivoting successfully into other fields. The quote from here says, "It's taken a toll on this Ethan person," who's one of the anecdotes. "It's taken a toll on Ethan's personal life. He's been with his partner for 7 years, but they've spent much of that time treading water. They want kids, but without the financial security of a tenure track position, it's daunting," referring to Ethan, who's in academia. White men in medicine have dropped from 31% in 2014 to 20% in 2025. So that white men in medical students was already like below half in 2014, and it dropped even lower. Law
Mm-hmm.
school matriculants dropped for men from 31% in 2016 to 25% in 2024. The Google workforce, white men went from nearly half in 2014 to less than a third in 2024. Amazon mid-level managers went from 55% white males to 33%, and so on. And so the reason why this is a big problem is because while men's opportunities have stagnated or dropped or have been basically like blockaded and gatekept by this woke ideology, essentially, the women's preferences and what they want in men hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So women are looking for men that don't exist
Yep.
because the men don't have the same prospects because the women have been given the men those prospects. And I would bet you if you asked women, hey, why can't you find a good man? And you tell them, well, here's all the things that we put into place to support women, there will probably be a not insignificant number of women who would say, why haven't men capitalized on their privilege to get a better job so that I can find a good man? Essentially still doubling down on the privilege aspect, which I think a lot of women are bought into, if not most of them. No, definitely most of them. Without considering that all of the advantages that they have been given has essentially put men in a position where they can't find someone, and women are not going to. I'm sorry, they're not going to become breadwinners for men in most cases. So this is going to be a problem for forming families as well.
Yep.
It is not just the affordability thing, which I know everyone's talking about right now. It's just the fact that men can't find a woman who will take them as they are because there's, because they're not making enough, and women care
Mm-hmm.
about that. So,
Yep. Yeah. Well, one of the biggest factors for a man to be married is income. And one of the biggest factors for a man to be divorced is the loss of a job around the world. So yeah, women haven't stepped up and actually changed their attitudes towards what they want in a partner, while squeezing men out of the positions that would have given them access to what women want in a partner. It's remarkable, isn't it? And also in shitifying all of the things that switched over to these DEI initiatives.
yep.
Yeah. Okay. So are you completed your
I'm done.
part?
That's it.
All
That's
right.
good.
So
Let's look at the flow chart then.
yeah, let's look at the flow chart. So this flow chart is for young men thinking about college, right? Don't. Like the very first thing is don't. They're going to take your money. They're going to leave you with a debt, and you're most likely going to have a degree that you can't get employed with because you are being actively discriminated against as a man with a college degree, specifically a man with a college degree. And the reason why you're being discriminated against is because they're trying to give all of those opportunities to women and minorities. And this is just reality. This isn't red pill rage. This isn't evil manosphere. This is literally what they said they were going to do, and they have done it. And this is the reality that Gen Z and millennial men live with right now. So we might as well, and yes, get mad because this is manifestly unfair. But also get pragmatic and look at what you can do to improve your life and make sure you don't fall into these pitfalls. Right? If you're currently in education, this might be of benefit. Maybe you can do some lateral moves. If you are thinking about education, definitely listen to what we're saying, because really all you're going to do is hand $25,000 to $30,000 to the nearest feminist professor who is then going to turn it around and make up more male bashing crap with it. That's what these institutions are doing. This is their primary output at this point. That and well, basically taking money from you for degrees that are worthless, especially like in particular if you're a man. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this.
I'm ready.
Alrighty. Your body is prepared, is it?
I am.
Okay. Then all right. So thinking about college. I guess I'll get you to scroll there.
I'll scroll it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you're a young man thinking about college. Right. Before you even consider this, there's another something to think about. And that is the culture on college campuses. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, women on college campuses are more dangerous than any other group of women in society. That is because they have access to kangaroo courts that seem to regard evidence of innocence to be some kind of ideological sin, right? Fortunately, I don't know if he's still operating, but there used to be someone, I forget his name, but he did a website called Falsely Accused. Students are falsely accused. And he would track the lawsuits related to men who had been falsely accused on college campuses and the egregious failures of due process. So essentially on a college campus, the women are the most dangerous they are in society because they are weaponized by these star courts that will presume you guilty, right? And they'll even presume you guilty when her own statements indicate you were the one who was raped. Remember that case? Yeah, I mounted John Doe while he was unconscious in the courtroom. And afterwards, I was contemplating how I didn't really want it. Oh, out you go. And you got a black mark on your academic record. Try getting into another school, right? Don't fuck with these girls.
Mm-hmm.
They are landmines. So if you're wanting to deal with that, if you want to deal with that, then we'll go further. So thinking about college. Is an employer or the military paying 100% of your tuition and fees? If that's the case, go ahead and go. You're not taking the risk, and somebody is going to give you a job at the end. I mean, maybe not if you're going in the military. Maybe you will get a job in the military. But if a business is paying for you to go, obviously they consider you an asset and they want to develop you for a job. Go ahead and go. Someone else is footing the bill. It's not your risk. And that's probably the only reason to go. The only reason to go into education if your employer is paying for it. But if that's not the case, let's go down a bit and look at the no on that decision tree. There you go. We're going to no. So yes, you are being paid to learn. Proceed, but choose ruthlessly practical fields. Which will go down. No. Warning, you are about to self-fund a risky, politicized product that often fails to deliver for men. Look at that. Think very carefully about it. Not only are you going to be going into something that you may not find any benefit for, but you are going to be funding the people who are constructing this nightmare. All right, so you still want to do that even after that warning? Let's continue.
All right.
And just a note on where we're going next. The way that I looked at this is I looked at what the unique value propositions that men offer society. And so what you have that's uniquely a result of your masculinity or being a man. Nobody else can acknowledge this stuff. Even conservatives have a problem with it because it means that we're not blowing glitter up the asses of women. But you, as a young man, do have value propositions, and you should think carefully of where you apply them for your own benefit. Now, if you're looking at this and you're saying, you know what, quiet quitting is for me, good for you. Quiet quit. Disappear out of this society because you don't owe them a damn fucking thing. You don't owe anyone in this society a damn fucking thing. And if that quiet quitting is your thing, do it. find a simple job, batten down the hatches, get a bachelor apartment, live your life, enjoy your hobbies. Do it. I am not telling you to go and be part of the system. But if you insist on it, right, use your advantages to your own advantage. I'm going to tell you what the advantages that men have. You are better at math, full stop, 100%. You are better at geometry, full stop, 100%. In fact, you are hilariously better than women. And I want Brian, can you pull up the that one link that
Oh,
the
you're
70-year
talking
cognitive
about the
puzzle that
quiz?
still,
Yeah, hold on.
yeah, that
Let me
still
grab it.
divides the sexes? It's
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
give you
think
guys
we
a chuckle.
covered this a while back.
Yeah,
I
but I think
remember
it's
this because of the
topical right
glass.
now. Yeah.
So it's the cognitive puzzle.
Yeah. So
The
this is part of
70-year
it.
cognitive puzzle that still divides the sexes, right?
Okay, go down and let's look at the cognitive puzzle. This is a puzzle that many women who go to college fail. Something like 40%. Yes, that one. You see this? You got two glasses. One, well, you have two things. A is a glass that is about, maybe 2/5 full of water. All right. And B is they're asking you to indicate with a line where the water level would be if you tilt the glass. Women fail this. Women going to college fail this. All right. So take a moment and think about that. You have vastly superior spatial and mathematical intelligence. Lean into it. If you know any young men who are in middle school or higher, tell them to start learning math, eating up as much math as they can. Lean into that. The other thing you have, physically stronger. There, it is a absolute joke. Every time I hear women say, "Oh my God, we could go toe to toe," it's social bullshit. Men are physically stronger, and it's an absolute joke. The difference, right? You are physically stronger. You are also more capable of dealing with risk. Now, this would have been great for men going into creative endeavors and creating all kinds of new things, but of course, we can't do that anymore. All of those things are being taken over by women so that they can create their damn fanfic and shitty art, right? But you are much more risk taking, okay? You also are much more tolerant of extremes of weather. Mechanically inclined, much better at solving mechanical problems. So at this point in time, all of these things sort of aim towards the trades and infrastructure jobs. And those jobs are not going to be, they're not going to be automated and turned into AI anytime soon. Because I have worked with AI. It is a bullshit artist par excellence. You can't vibe code the electrical grid. And if they do, I hope that is the end of Western. I hope that everybody rises up in a civil war, because that's going to be such a shit show. All right, go back to the
flow chart.
Back to the flow chart. All right, so what I'm counseling you on is to lean into your strengths as a man. Learn what they are. Forget all of this bullshit about, oh, everybody's equal, but of course women have all the good things and men have all the bad things, right? Women are, girls are sugar and spice and boys are puppy dog. Lean into what your benefits as a man, what you value proposition that you have. All right. Do you have clear proof of strong quantitative ability? So when you're deciding to go into advanced education, are you actually in like the top 10 percentile for mathematical ability? Are you actually up there? And probably also verbal, because you're going to have to be able to write things and bullshit your way through some humanities courses if you take an undergraduate in science, for example, right? Make sure you're in the top. Otherwise, don't bother. Right? Go find something else. Go create either go into the trades, go into infrastructure jobs, or start a business, right? Go into those things. Those things will make sense. All right. So do you have clear proof of strong qualitative ability? Go down. We're going to know. Right. Down a bit.
Right.
Over a little bit. Okay. Skip university. Look at trades, apprenticeships, high commission sales, or starting a business. Sales are good for men. because of the aforementioned risk. You're more willing to gamble. Okay, move over a bit so we can see the other than the yes tree. Okay. Are you willing to do 5 to 10 years of hard technical work or research? So you're thinking about this. Okay, yes, I'm in the top 10%, and I'm willing to do 5 to 10 years of hard work. And here's the thing. Don't go to college because you want to party. Don't do it. Go to college and treat it like a job. If possible, live off the campus. Do not interact with the women. No offense. Like, they're very dangerous at this point. Go there and focus on making this your career. Okay? If you're willing to sacrifice that, because the thing is, you don't want to stop with a bachelor's. The bachelor's is useless, right? But if you get to a master's, you could end up being employed in a business sense. So let's see. Yes. Okay. Go down a bit.
All right. Yes.
I should probably control this.
No, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If you cannot handle 5 to 10 years of concentrated study that will get you a master's, go to shorter, applied paths only, 2 to 3 year programs in trades, engineering, tech, business, coding, etc. Right? Oh, go back up.
All the way down past
No,
this?
go back up. We got to go back to yes. So yes, you can handle that. Can you finish a bachelor's with under 20K total debt? Right? You want to minimize your debt. So do you have family helping you? Do you have scholarships? Well, good luck with that, right? You're a white man or even a minority man. Good luck getting scholarships. But can you finish it under 20,000 in debt? Because you got to think about that. You're going to have to pay this back, which means you're going to have a job at the end of it. I mean, at that point, not having the debt makes a lot more sense. So let's go down. But let's say no. Warning, do not enroll. For most men, high debt plus today's labor market equals a bad deal. So if you're not having help with your tuition, don't enroll. Right? You may do it anyway, but don't say I didn't warn you. Can we go over to the right? I think it is.
The short applied paths.
The other way.
Over here.
Yeah. Is your intended major quantitatively rigorous and male tolerant? So what that means is, does it lean into your strengths as a man? Namely, does it use a lot of math or geometry or mechanical thinking? Okay. Does it still have over 50% male? Okay. If that's the case, then go ahead. Some examples of those, I could probably I have a lot of documents and tabs open. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it's difficult to navigate through everything.
Fair.
Yeah. Okay. So field and aptitude considerations. Okay. Cognitive research shows a large sex difference in 3D spatial visualization ability, often measured with mental rotation tests. Men dominate the high ability tail that feeds into engineering and hard STEM. So, of course, engineering and hard STEM. Business, too. Fields that remain relatively safer and more rewarding for quantitatively strong men's strengths. Engineering, computer science, cybersecurity, applied, ALML, accounting, finance, operations research, quantitative economics, some applied sciences and forensics, criminology with clear industry pipelines. So if you do want to do something that's more sociology adjacent, criminology is probably a good bet. Fields that are high risk for men in terms of return on investment and ideological climate. Most humanities, stay the fuck away from the humanities. English, generic studies majors, soft social sciences, sociology, gender studies, social work, education, any major with a majority female cohort and weak labor market, especially at non-elite institutions. So avoid and go towards certain things. Unfortunately, if you're a guy who would have been like, I don't know, this generation's Mark Twain, you're probably not going to get anywhere in humanities, which is really unfortunate. but we're dealing with a massive decline here. So keep yourself safe. All right, let's go to let's go down the tree.
Just
All
down.
right. What is your intended ceiling? Okay, so how far do you expect to go? All right, if you're going to stop after master's, plan bachelor's in a hard field, terminal master's if needed, exit quickly into the private industry. You are not likely to get a academic career. All right, so if that's fine, you get your master's in a hard field that emphasizes your strengths as a man. And this is why you do that, because women will never really dominate those fields. Like, and in particular, like, and this is outside the academic sphere, women are never going to dominate line work in Saskatchewan, for example, because it requires you to go out in negative 40-degree wind chill, fixing things that could electrocute you, right? So there are places that women will never go. Sort of focus on them. Also, incidentally, those are the places that are least likely to be taken over by AI. So that's a consideration as well, as, you know, it sweeps through like a wave of acid in the employment market. Anyway, so if your intended calling is PhD academic career, go down a bit. Let's take a look at that. Go
over here.
Yeah, over. Warning. Only makes sense if you're already on top of your cohort with elite references. And even then, be prepared for stonewalling. Be prepared for a stalled career. Be prepared to work a lot harder than anyone else. Unless you're in a European college and you go over to the States, they seem to be doing okay. Europe doesn't seem to have as much of this problem. Okay, let's move to the left or right, which I don't. Okay, yeah, there. That's the good. Keep going.
Just right here.
Yeah. Keep going.
Oh, sorry. More. Okay.
I guess waving at you is not help. Okay. Default verdict. Don't go unless all criteria are met. Okay, so what are all the criteria? You are ready for a sustained effort of 5 to 10 years. And you're okay with not making money as you do that. In a academic study that naturally excludes women because it uses skills they don't have. Means a lot of mathematics, a lot of mechanics, a lot of 3D rotation. All right, are you ready for that? Get out at a master's. Get a job in industry, right? If you want to go for your PhD, your options are more limited because you're going to be going right into the lioness's den, the discrimination against people like you. They aren't going to want to hire you in academia. And also there is high levels of discrimination on the higher level R&D research in corporations as well. So you got to consider that. And you're going to end up with 100,000 plus in debt and nowhere to go. That's a high likelihood that that's going to happen. Okay. Don't do a bachelor's, go for your master's, get into business. That's okay. You can probably manage it if you go into the hard sciences, if you're ready for 5 to 10 years of work, putting your nose to the grindstone, not getting into parties, not getting into the campus life, not getting dragged into the drama, and pretty much ignoring every woman on campus, which is difficult because, you know, women on campus tend to be the most attractive they'll ever be. Also the most dangerous. And not just because they're empowered by the kangaroo courts on campus, but also they just, for whatever
They're getting a college
reason,
education, so
yeah, they're getting a college education. And not just that, for whatever reason, this coming up cohort of women is some of the most rapey, piggish women in history. Like, my generation of women actually had more consideration for sexual violence against men than millennial women and Gen Z women, who are incredibly sexually entitled, incredibly violent, and they're just toxic. They have toxic attitudes towards men. Toxic, resentful attitudes towards men. If you want to wade into that, I would recommend you only do so if you have the murderous charisma of someone like Wade Wilson.
yeah.
Take that for what it is. All right, so go down a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Operational rules for campus survival. I am very, like you could take this with a grain of salt. Maybe you'll end up with a bunch of women who are like really cool. And yes, I know this isn't perfect. There's all kinds of discrimination now in trades as well, because they're desperately trying to onboard women for I don't know why we've decided that this is the way we want to die as a society, but they're desperately trying to onboard women into situations where they just don't work out. I remember Jonathan, my husband, has had to have dental surgery quite a bit, and we have to go to a nearby city. And I point this out because it takes a while for him to finish his appointments. Like his appointments could be like 4 hours, 5 hours long. So I'm like walking around this city. It's a small city. It's like for an American, you probably would consider it like a town. And I'm just walking with the dog, just passing time. And I passed this playground, and there's a 3-woman team in like in the reflective vest kind of thing. So there's some kind of, I don't know, city.
Oh, you like they work on like they're road workers or something?
No, they're like city operatives. Like they go out and they fix things or something. Well, not them,
Yeah,
but they,
sure. Okay.
yeah, they're employed by the city to clear drains and do landscaping. Not these women, of course, but and do other stuff. And I just sat down on a bench with the dog and I watched them. And they wandered through the playground. They inspected a slide. Three women inspected a slide. Then they sat down on a bench, and a couple of them were playing on the stuff, and they were just chatting. And I'm like, what the hell are these women doing? And then I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And I leave. I leave, and they're still just chatting and chumming away. And I leave, and I swear to God, between where the car was parked and the dog park, which was my ultimate aim, there were 3 other crews of men, like
Mm-hmm.
100% men, mowing lawns, cutting bushes, clearing sewers, fixing roads,
Doing real work.
doing real work. And I was like, what are the odds? I mean, I just went to that city one day out of the year for no particular reason, and this is what I see. Like what are the odds that this isn't constantly happening? So yes, they're onboarding women into the trades and all of this stuff. And it's unfortunate, it's unfair, but this minimizes the cost to any guy personally. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
let's look at the campus life risk management principles from all of the horror stories that I've heard. If a man goes anyway, he should treat campus life like a work site, not a social playground. Live off campus where possible, commute, attend, leave. Keep interactions formal and professional, avoid parties, heavy alcohol, and private situations that can feed into biased conduct processes. So you're trying to avoid any situation where it can be interpreted poorly, shall we say. And honestly, there is, like I said, these women, these young women, very bad sense of boundaries, very violent, very sexually assaultive. And a lot of guys will be like, oh yeah, that's my like that don't threaten me with a good time. But when I've heard men actually go through these situations, like I'll use an anecdote of a guy who watched his friend go through this situation. So his friend got raped, at a college party by a woman, just got on him when he was passed out drunk, not unconscious, like not blackout drunk, unconscious drunk, right? His friends pulled her off, and he described how this man was never the same again. Couldn't trust. His academic performance went to crap, and he eventually disappeared. And you know where men who endure this stuff go to? Drugs, homelessness, institutions, and eventually death. Right? So this is serious stuff. And even if you think going into it is, it's not going to affect me, consider that she could then have turned around and got his life ruined with a sexual assault allegation, despite the fact that she was the one engaging in the sexual assault. That's college life. And you
Yeah.
can maybe get through all of this. You can, if you're particularly charming, it probably doesn't apply to you, but you got to be careful. Focus on coursework, projects, and off-campus networks for real career value. Treat it like a job. This is also really good to make sure you keep the grades necessary to be in the top 10. All right. So this is what will make college a reasonable choice. But ultimately, it's not. Ultimately, you're handing money to the people who think you are slime. So just imagine the most disgusting feminist professor, and imagine giving her $25,000 to $30,000, and then spending a good portion of your life where you may not get a job paying that off. All right. Okay. Those are the proactive steps to take if you want to get a college degree. I'm curious what the chat is thinking about all that. Pence rule. Yeah, Pence rule.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Mike Pence rule.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Brian?
No, I mean, I think that the starting your own business thing is a really like worthwhile option to explore, especially if you're already out of college. I think that like you need to
Become a
just
day
say
trader.
to hell with like these people breaking up male spaces and HR departments, and I'm just gonna start my own business. Like I don't know. I would like find some people, maybe even in the Discord server or something. If you're not in there, coordinate with or some friends, some people you can trust, and say, "Hey, man, you want to start a business? Because like this is the best way." I mean, where I live, a lot of guys they have their own little things. They drive a tow truck, they do some yard, like some landscaping, roofing, whatever, plumbing. I bet you can learn all that shit easily, and just I think that starting your own business is basically what I'm getting at. That's what I would look into and partner up with some other dudes that are all like, sick of the same system. You probably can find some like-minded folks.
Exactly. Yeah. So there you go. Hopefully that was helpful. I hope it wasn't too down, but honestly, the numbers are coming in. I feel vindicated when I was telling young men 15 years ago and onwards, don't go into higher education. They don't want you. They're just going to declare war on you. And it turns out it was a gigantic con all along. They're going to take your money, and at the end of the day, you're going to get nothing from it. You are going to be paying the people who are destroying your life. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I think I'm good. I
Yeah, I'm
hope
good
that
too.
I protect. I hope some guys take my word for it. And if you are in academia, consider some lateral moves if you have to. If you are going to end up having a more hard masters, that good on you. You're already probably in the best path you could take. Okay. All right. So I think we have enough of their super chow, right? Or did you
Oh
read
yeah,
that?
yeah. There was one other. Richard Bier gave us 5 and said, "Where are the stories about women clamoring to be Pony Express riders and railroad brakemen? Also, proper grammar is misogynistic somehow."
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
my
it's
mother
like being on
discovered.
time. It's misogynistic, obviously.
Everything
That's
that
Richard.
allows for advanced society to run is anti-woman. We all just need to vibe code everything. Everything.
There you go.
The supremacy of the vibes.
Vibe supremacy.
Yeah, vibe lives matter.
Vibe lives matter.
Somebody said that they were going to be a vibe miner. That could actually be a good source. Oh, yeah, that can, figure that out. Figure out how you mine vibes. Make that your thing. Okay. All right. So, I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. Hopefully,
Cool.
if you know a young man, I know that nobody wants to actually call stuff out and be honest about what's happening, but help him out. Give him the realistic assessment. of the likelihood of getting a return on spending, several grand or like a couple dozen, like a couple tens of thousands of dollars on a actual like diploma or like a degree. Like give him a rundown and tell him what he's up against. Like one of the biggest problems with all of this is nobody wants to take responsibility for informing everyone else that they're walking into a freaking snake pit, because it means that we blame women. Oh gosh, we can't do
How
that.
could you?
How could I? Or blame initiatives supposedly to benefit women, which they really don't, but that's another discussion for another day. All right, so if you would like to send us a message at any time, even after the show is over, because we receive them and they stay in our little message cocoon to be open to the next show, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way to send us a tip and a message with that tip. The monthly fundraiser is open and we have, 14 days left. So feedthebadger.com/support to help us out so we can continue to bring you this content, warn you about the future. It's getting amusing how many things that I predicted have come true. If you want spoilers about the future, if you want to continue to get spoilers about the future, feedthebadger.com/support. And I will hand it back to Brian. So
All
he
right.
can.
I do have another Rumble rant, and Richard
Oh,
Bier
cool.
says there's a super chow coming through.
Okay, I'll
So
poke the hole.
first, I'll just read those. Of course, yeah, you guys love waiting till the last minute. NovaFan21 earlier sent a Rumble rant and said, "We've seen leftists infighting. Feminists identify gay men as the straight men of the group, and BLM calls straight black men the white men of the group. You love to see it." Yeah, well, because eventually the whole thing is built on creating like tribal grievances between groups of people so that they can't unify. And with men in particular, because men are really good at working together, that's a really good way to wedge the differences. You separate, gay from straight, black from white and brown and different whatever. Just do that. And of course, you use threat narratives around women to further enforce that, and it's pretty effective. But I think, I don't know, I see a lot of young guys especially, they're really not having it. Like they're really sick of it. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I don't know, it's hard to tell how big it is, but
Honestly, they should be
Super Chow
pissed.
has not come through yet. I don't know if it's stuck in the tubes or what.
Yeah, it looks
Unless
like our,
unless he thinks I didn't read the one I read,
yeah,
where it's
I
about
don't
Pony
see
Express
one.
riders and stuff. So
I'll nope. There isn't another one, Richard. He read the one about the Pony Express riders. Unless you want to get something in really quick, we've completed. We have done all your tasks, sir.
all right.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, we could look at the see if there's anything more in the chat that's worth picking up to give sort of a. Did you manage to get the vertical working?
no, I couldn't get it working, but it's recording, so I don't know. Like I'll have to like do a fresh like I might be able to figure it out, but I'd have to do a fresh restart of everything. So I'd
Okay.
rather wait until the show ended and then look into it. It's one of these things like once you start
Yeah, no,
streaming, there's
I
a
got
bunch of
you.
stuff you can't do while the stream is live. So
I am not seeing a super chow on the back end, Richard. Are you sure it went through? Because the last one that went through was 49 minutes ago. So just double check to make sure it went through, that you clicked pay or whatever it is. Let me see what's going on. In the chat, proper grammar is white coded. Oh, so many things are white coded. Yeah. And then white coded, by white coded, we mean man coded. Do you remember that list of all the things that are white supremacy?
yeah. No, it was
literally,
the Smithsonian put out
yeah.
that list. Yeah.
And it was basically anything you could code as masculine
Yep.
was white coded white supremacy. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to
All
double
right.
check for Richard's
All right, one
thing.
more check. I
One
don't
more
think it
check.
went through. We read it, Richard, if you're talking about the last one.
If you're talking about the
Okay.
Pony Express one, we read it.
Yeah,
Well,
we're both of them.
I think, sorry, Richard, I don't see anything on my end. Maybe the voles are not just stuck, they're dead, but not much we can do. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip. and to send us that message and a tip if you wish, and feedthebadger.com/support to support the show. I'm going to hand it back to Brian, so take
All
us
right.
out.
Yep. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. And share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame. And we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.